Welcome back to the Empowered Learning Podcast, where we explore the ideas and people shaping the future of learning and leadership. Today's guest is Leah Ellis, founder of the Society of Child Entrepreneurs, a nonprofit helping kids ages 6 through 17 build confidence, leadership, and real-world business skills. Through hands-on experiences, mentorship, and financial literacy, Leah is helping young people deliver resilience, creativity, and leadership early in life. In this episode, we explore mindset, environment, and why entrepreneurship is a powerful tool for developing confident leaders. Let's dive in. Hello, Leah. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate it. We were just talking before we started the recording that this is kind of the last thing right before the holiday season. So I appreciate you hanging out a little bit longer with me before you jump into the Yuletide season. So I appreciate that.
I'm excited for the break too. Yes.
Yes, that'll be super fun. So much to talk about, but let's dive right in because I know that this is a concept and a subject that you are very, very passionate about. So let me just start right here. Financial literacy. There's a huge gap, even in adult education, which we can talk about that a little bit. I know most of our conversation is going to be on the education, childhood side of things, but how do you make it approachable and fun for kids? That's a difficult thing for adults to grasp. How do you make that fun and approachable for kids?
Well, fun fact, I was a financial coach for grown-ups before I started writing my children's curriculum. So
Gotcha.
I had to cover this stuff for grown-ups and try and understand it. And every grown-up I talked to, every time we all said the same thing. Why didn't anybody teach me this when I was a kid? And since I had a background in education, I was like, well, why don't I start teaching it to kids? I'm uniquely qualified to have the knowledge to share this with kids. And the biggest thing is we always tell kids that they are in control of their money. Their money is only a tool. And there are only 3 things you can do with money. And once I tell them there are only 3 things you can do with money, no matter how old you are, it becomes a lot more digestible.
Okay.
So the only 3 things you can do with money is after you have earned it and it is in your hand, you can spend it, you can save it, or you can give it away. Those are the only 3 things you can do with money, even when you're an adult. We just give it different names, like paying bills and investing for retirement and donating to charity. But they're all still spending, saving, and giving. And once you understand that you can only do those things and you have to do all of those things, it becomes a lot easier to understand where it's funneling out of.
Right.
And then at the Society of Child Entrepreneurs, we make it fun because the kids are earning real money. And therefore, all of that is their money they get to use.
Gotcha.
Everything is exciting when I get to buy my own presents at the end of it.
Sure. Right. Yeah. No, I love that. Real money makes it real interesting, right?
Yeah, exactly. Real money means I actually want to listen.
Right. Yeah. You can literally buy my time by giving the opportunity for real money at the end of it. Yeah.
Well, and when I start with 7, 8, 9-year-old kids and they're making real money, they've never had that amount of money. They've never had that amount of freedom.
Sure.
And then they get to start seeing what they can do with it. So we have one kid, he made like $300 in 2 hours and donated almost all of it to his church to create a scholarship fund for other kids to go to summer camp.
That's so cool. That is so cool.
Right.
I love that. I'm sure we're going to get into different stories and this kind of stuff, but do you agree with the fact that it's different? There's a different energy. There's a different whatever you want to call it around money that you earn rather than money that you are given or gifted.
Absolutely. Money that you're gifted or given or money that just kind of happens onto you, there's no sweat equity in it. So it's easier to just blow it because you don't understand what you had to go through to it. But when you have earned that money, then you understand how many minutes did I have to stand at a booth? How long did it take me to make that product? My daughter, even now, she starts to look at things like, well, how many things do I have to sell to be able to buy that thing that I want? And then everything stops being just about dollars and starts becoming about effort.
Yep. Yeah. Is this really worth another 2 sales of my time or another 3 hours that I'm going to have to do to get this money back? Right.
Right. Is it worth my time as much as it's worth my money? because if it's not, well, then maybe I want to hold on to it. We also talk a very little bit about opportunity cost
Okay.
and is it worth not getting something else later? Because if I
Okay.
buy a $25 set of colored pencils now, then I
Sure.
might not have money for a $50 really high-end set of colored
Right.
pencils next month.
Right. And I'm sure you've heard the uh um oh man, I'll have to cut this out because my brain just went completely dead. No, I'm on break brain already as well. Let's try that
Yep.
again. Have you ever heard of the um, thing with the marshmallows, right? The experiment with
Yes,
marshmallows, right? They
the
put the
psychology
marshmallow,
experiment.
yeah, right in front of the kids, and I love that they do it with kids because we want to say, oh, that's just kids. I think parent or the adults are exact same way, right? If you can wait an hour, we'll give you two of them, or you can eat this at any time and then just let them sit there and watch them wiggle and squirm and like trying to, you can see the wheels turning in their head of like, is it really worth waiting? I don't know. Do you experience any of that of just the, I mean, you mentioned talking a little bit about opportunity cost and the delayed gratification. Any
Yeah.
experiments or thoughts on that?
That experiment is an absolutely perfect example of opportunity cost
Hmm.
because the cost of eating a marshmallow now is I don't get two marshmallows later.
Right.
Um, And that's exactly what the kids have to go through all the time is, well, I could trade my product for her product now, but then if a customer comes who wants it, I can't sell it. So is her product worth this trade? And
Hmm.
all of the things that they have to discuss with each other.
Yep. I love it. Super fun. Super fun. All right. Well, now everybody, you get an idea of kind of where Leah and I are going to go with this conversation. So, thanks for coming. Thanks for listening to the Empowered Learning Podcast, and let's get a little bit more background on Miss Leah Ellis. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing, kind of what led you into this entrepreneurial avenue with education kind of in there. So, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I was an army brat. I moved around a lot when I was a kid, and one thing I always was able to do was babysit, nanny. I did internships in elementary schools. I always wanted to be able to take care of and help other kids. Even my senior year of high school, I went to school 8 to 11 and I worked in an elementary school 11:30 to 4.
Mm,
And it was some of my best memories are working with second graders when I was a high school senior. And then when I had my own kids, I had an in-home daycare. I homeschooled my oldest for kindergarten through second grade. So I've just always, almost for 20 years, been ingrained in childcare and child development and education. And I tell people all the time, I really love squishy kid brains because you can mold them to be amazing. They just need somebody who believes in it.
I love
So that's what I do is I teach squishy kid brains how they can run their own businesses.
that. That's quite, if you have not monetized or copyrighted that, I think that's good. I teach, squishy kid brains how to be an entrepreneur. I think that's I mean it's spot on. It's exactly what you do, right?
But it's great graphic language.
Yeah, right, right.
It's very descriptive.
Yep,
Squishy kid brains.
yep.
But we take these kids, they say that 80 to 90% of your subconscious beliefs are formed by the time you're 7 years old.
Mm,
And I start with kids at 6 years old, teaching them that they can and already have the skills to be leaders and entrepreneurs in their communities.
hmm.
Which means I create an entire generation, in theory, who have taken these courses someday and
Right.
learn that they can be leaders in their community. There's nothing stopping them.
Yeah, right. I love that. I love that. I reading through some of your stuff, you talk about trusting kids and this kind of stuff. So let me see if I captured some of the content in this type of stuff that's on your website and stuff like this. So your motto seems to be trust kids and they rise. Does that sound on
Yep,
brand for you? Does that
we
sound
can
about
use
right?
that. And our curriculum title and our tagline is Ignite, Empower, Lead.
There we go. Ignite and
Yep.
Power Lead. So we're trusting kids where they're rising to the belief that we put in them, right? So why do you think trust is such a missing ingredient in what we teach kids?
Because we want to control them. We don't want to
Mm,
trust them to make choices. We want the control
yeah,
that they do what we say to do. And when we trust that they actually have their own ideas and they can fail and handle it better than we give them credit for,
right.
then we have to give them some time to do it. So I
Hmm.
think that's the biggest thing is It's really easy as an adult to say, I will let you start your own business. Let me pick the colors for you. Let me pick your logo. Let me tell you how to price things.
Hmm.
But then all we've done is we have created a business that we are allowing our children to play in.
Yeah.
Whereas if we trust our kids to say, okay, what is your idea? How are
Hmm.
you going to do it? Where are you going to market it? We start asking those questions and we trust that they actually have the answers.
Hmm. Yeah. You probably heard um, and this is more along the teaching line, less on the teacher in the classroom, but you're the guide on the side, not the sage on the stage, right? Don't make it about yourself. Ask the questions, let them, and I love the point that you're saying of like trust that they have the answer. I will admit I am terrible about asking questions when I'm like they don't know the answer to this, but I have to like ask the question. So shame on me. But let's be better as parents. Ask the question knowing that they do have the answer. It may not be, accept the fact it may not be exactly how you would do it, but that's okay, right? That's part of the learning process, and it's not your business to run. Let them learn those mistakes. Yeah.
Well, and also the trust that a single failure is not going to ruin your child.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, Trust that your child can fail and learn
Right.
and not fail and surrender to it.
There you go. Yeah. Yeah. Like I say, part of learning, failure is learning, right? I mean, that's
Exactly.
what it's
We
all about.
teach one of our books, it's literally all about failing forward. And it's
Okay.
like you didn't fail. Yes,
Hmm.
this is failing forward because you now have momentum to push you into the next idea.
Okay. Yeah. I love it. Give me one of your favorite fail forward moments from your work.
Um, we did a partnership with our city, and we do all of our children's business fairs in our city community center, and we
Okay.
always pay our rent for it, and we rent it out. And they gave us the opportunity on a special day to have the space for free. And
Oh,
we were
wow.
so excited we were going to get the space for free. We made it a big deal. It was our city's fall festival. So people
Mhm.
from neighboring cities come in. We get like 30,000 visitors over the course of
Wow.
3 days. It's huge. And on the day
Hmm.
they were giving us the space, they were expecting 10 to 15,000 people to come into our city.
Wow.
So I hyped this event up. I had parents excited. We had so much inventory. We were doing everything we could for this event to be huge. And it was my daughter's 10th birthday. So she had
Okay.
to spend her 10th birthday in a booth at this
Mhm.
event.
Right.
Um, the city then moved all the rest of the vendors from the street in front of the community center where we do our events to the
Mm.
local park.
Oh
So the
no.
street was a ghost town.
Yeah.
We probably had 10 customers
No.
the whole day.
Yeah.
My daughter had 2 sales after spending a whole day in a booth on her birthday.
Yeah. I hear you.
So obviously we were all like, as an organization, we were heartbroken.
Sure.
As the event organizer, I felt like I had failed all of these kids because I had
Mhm.
thought I was doing everything to get them this massive
Sure.
opportunity.
Right.
So we had our following event the very next month. And all the kids, they knew that sometimes you have a bad sales day.
Hmm.
And we all just did our marketing, did our advertising, and went right back to, okay, how do we make it big like we wanted it to be? And went right back into our signs on the sides of the roads, Facebook ads, and everything that we usually do
Hmm.
so that they could have a better event the
Yeah.
next month. And the next event was much better,
Hmm. I love it. I love
but
it.
it was a rough day.
I bet it was. I bet it was. And I'm sure that, you're on multiple levels, right? You're thinking, okay, like my mom heart is hurting for my daughter because of this, but I'm also like leading these, all of these kids that have this expectation and I got to put on a brave face even though I'm disappointed too. So all the feelings, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. And then to still my daughter is like, can we just not have another day like my birthday?
Yeah, right. Anything but that, mom.
Yes, yes. And we will, the problem is our city's fall event is always the same weekend as her birthday. It
Okay.
has
Yeah.
been for as long as we've lived here. So we're going to work on ways to make sure that we can protect her birthday
There
while
you go.
still providing her the opportunity to do the events she wants to do.
I love it. I love it. Very good. That's good stuff. My goodness, where can we go from here? This is a big part of this. I mean, you and I, as business owners and entrepreneurs, we understand that rejection and making mistakes, this kind of stuff, that is just part of the entrepreneurial journey. Um, Again, we've talked about in the past, maybe we assume, maybe this. Sometimes we project the baggage that we have on our kids. not knowing the fact that they are far more resilient and far more able to get over things than we might be. So, my question is, how do you teach kids to handle rejection and mistakes and then help them to build confidence through rejection or through those difficult times?
One thing, so I used to be in sales. I've had many jobs, jack of all
Hmm.
trades and all that stuff. So at one point I was in sales and we used to have to do cold calls. So I would
Yep.
literally get a list of phone numbers and
Right.
told, call these people. And I got called names, I got hung up on, I got
Right.
dozens of voicemails, right?
Hmm.
But I also kept a coloring sheet. And every time somebody told me no, I colored in a box on my coloring sheet. And when I got
Okay.
to 100 no's, I would give myself a reward.
Okay.
So every time I got a rejection, I reframed it. It wasn't a
Hmm.
rejection, it was a step towards my reward. So part of what I teach the kids is reframing. I mean, any sales, even a kid in a booth at a lemonade stand, is the law of large numbers. There's always going to be people who you're not the right person for. And so reframing it to, for every 5 people who come by who aren't the right audience for me, I'm 5 people closer to the person who is.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I love that. And I'm obviously in sales as well. I'm working with a sales coach right now. He actually, I think his episode dropped last week. Sid Walker. If you have not checked that out, everybody listening, check that out. He's brilliant, has done this a very, very long time. And one of his tricks that he has to overcoming rejection and overcoming this fear is dice. So what as when you engage with him as a coach, he sends you like real Vegas dice, and the idea is that you roll the dice. And he said it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And as long as you keep rolling the dice, you will have success, but you can't stop after one loss or whatever.
Exactly. It's the same thing, that law of large numbers. You have to keep going. I mean, every time you say no, you're getting closer. And if
Right.
you reframe it like I did with the reward system, where every no is a is a check towards my reward, but every no was also a step closer to that yes. So
Hmm.
no matter what, every no was getting me towards what I wanted.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. That's really good.
And it was their
Um,
loss not to work with me anyway.
that's right. Yeah, exactly. See? Yeah. Another one my job is to find the people that God wants me to work with. And then that kind of removes this whole thing of like if they tell me off or hang up on me or whatever, like that's obviously not someone that I'm supposed to work with. So whatever, move on.
Right. Right,
Exactly.
exactly. The people who want to work with me, and they know who I am, they know why I'm here, and they know what
Mhm.
I'll teach their kids.
Right.
And the people who don't want to work with me will find systems that work for them.
Sure.
And I hope that they all also reach massive success and great harmony and happiness in their lives.
Right. No, that's really good. That's really good. Um, we kind of, I mean, again, I love that, and this is part of the reason that I love doing podcasts so much is because every guest has such a wide range of experiences in this kind of stuff, and you layer in kind of the experiences that I have as an educator and a business owner and this kind of stuff. So it's always fun. So we've jumped all around the place, and I understand that, but I want to jump back to the idea of teaching young kids this idea of entrepreneurship. So what would you say, and what do you say, not would, but I'm sure you've had this conversation with multiple parents when they say that's too complex, right? Ownership, entrepreneurship, that's far too complex for 6-year-olds. What is your response to that?
I actually regularly tell people, if your kid can add and subtract within 20, I can teach them how to run a business. And that's because I just need them to be able to count back their
Hmm.
money at the
There
booth.
you go.
As long as they can count back change, I'm going to teach them how entrepreneurs solve problems. I'm going to teach them what a mission and vision statement are. I'm going to teach them how to write an elevator pitch. All of those things are skills that can be taught,
Right.
and they're not rocket science. I
Hmm.
mean, when we talk mission and vision statements, we tell the kids that their mission statement is the seed that started their business, the reason why they did it in the first place. And
Hmm.
their vision statement is the tree that they want that business to grow into someday.
Okay.
Well, any kid can understand, I have a
Right.
seed, I want it to grow into a tree.
Right.
We can do that with a 6-year-old.
Sure. Sure. Yeah, break it down into concepts and we talked about the squishy brains earlier. Just like put it
Right.
in language that makes sense to them, and then yeah, let them go from there and just point them in the right direction. Be the guide on the side and believe that they can do it. Love it. Really, really good. Okay,
Well,
cool.
and since we have our children's business fairs where they're really getting the hands-on
Hmm.
time where they are standing in a booth that they've decorated, they've made the materials for.
Hmm. Right.
There's a whole lot of learning that comes from having to talk to strangers about something you made and convincing them that it's worth their money.
Right. Yeah. I love it. I love it. So we've heard the what of what it is that you're doing and even kind of the why, but we haven't talked about the how you are delivering through that. So tell us about the Society of Child Entrepreneurs. When you created it, what was the impetus behind that and kind of some future goals for that awesome organization that you started?
Okay, this is a long one, so bear
Okay,
with
here we
me
go.
while I do a lot of talking.
Okay.
My daughter, bless her heart, my oldest daughter started her first business at 4.5 years old, watching me start one of my many businesses that I had started
Okay.
throughout her life. And I realized how awesome it was for her to be learning all of this business stuff at 4 years old and 5 years old. Post COVID, she did her first children's business fair, and she was just one of the attendees. We weren't part of the organization or anything like that. And she loved it.
Hmm.
When we moved from the West Coast back to the Midwest, I hosted my first children's business fair as a way for her to connect with other entrepreneurial kids and maybe
Okay.
create a little bit of a friend group in this new area.
Sure.
But then I quickly realized that there was no step two. If we
Mm.
say that step one is a children's business fair where you set up your event, you sell to the public for the day, and then you go home,
Right.
there was no step two so
Sure.
that the next children's business fair could be
Right.
better. And since I have that entrepreneurship background and I have that education background, I wanted to know what could I do so that we could have a business fair in April and then we could do classes and then we could have a children's business fair in August and we could
Mhm.
see the development of these kids becoming stronger business leaders. So I convinced some friends to help me create a board of directors and we founded the Society of Child Entrepreneurs in July of 2024. So we're still a little baby organization. We're not even 2 years old yet. But in that 2 years or 1.5 years, we've had almost 50 kids participate in at least one of our children's business fairs. We have
Okay.
18 kids who come to monthly meetings with me. And at our monthly meetings, they're kind of like, I tell people it's like a business mastermind. We talk business
Mhm.
problems, only we do it over pizza, and most of the kids are 9 to 13.
I love
Um,
it.
and with that, we also do something called a SoCE circle, which is essentially a Socratic circle where I ask them a big open-ended question, and then they have open discussion on how they, as business owners and children, would solve
Mhm.
that problem in business.
Okay.
And then starting in January, I'm really excited because I am in the process of writing a 36 weeks full school year long curriculum that private schools and homeschool families and eventually public school systems will be able to
Mm.
implement in the classroom.
Okay.
And our pilot program starts in January.
Nice. Congratulations. That's a big
So
deal.
I'm really excited to start that pilot
Yeah.
program. And this will be a way for us to test if I take a bunch of kids who have never thought about being entrepreneurs
Sure.
before, can I teach them how to be entrepreneurs?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to teach a bunch of kids I've never met how to be entrepreneurs in 18 weeks.
There you go.
Yeah,
New
it's going to be
curriculum.
amazing.
When did you say that's dropping?
The Our first pilot starts January 6th, and that's an in-person program. And then mid-January to perhaps late January, we haven't settled on our exact launch date yet. We're going to be launching an online platform where
Okay.
people who aren't here in Kansas will
Hmm.
have access to some of my lesson plans that we have tested and
Hmm.
some of our discussion questions that they can do in their own small groups or with their own kids over the dining room table.
Right. Right. I love it. Okay. Cool. So start in person and then move to online
Yeah.
and grow from there. Okay. I
Yeah.
love it.
I'm so excited about it because
I bet.
it feels like it's been a long time coming. Just like I'll show this off for a minute.
Yes, please.
I wrote this book. This is the first book of what will eventually be 36 books to go with each part of the curriculum
Okay.
in July. And we finally have hard copies of Sparks to Stars. And I'm so excited to be able to share this with people. And it's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble, so anybody can read our very first book about our two mascots, Astra and Zeke, meeting and starting their first business coaching company together.
Very cool.
And it's so exciting.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Like I said, it felt like it was a long time coming, but it actually only
Mhm.
took about 5 months, which is
Wow.
crazy to think. I put
That's
my artist through a really rough time.
yeah. Well, you gotta do it right. So I hear you on that. Good for
Yeah.
you. Well, cool. Let's see here. What else? Let's I mean, you obviously talk to kiddos about missions and visions and this kind of stuff. Tell me what your 5 year best case scenario looks like. What does it look like in 5 years?
Um, I want to be at least nationwide.
Okay.
We want to be able to open chapters in other states.
Okay.
Um, but theoretically, I have people in Canada and Switzerland that would be open to it, and we could potentially be international at that point.
Wow.
Yeah, that would be crazy. It's a big dream to think about. But I want to have no longer counting by dozens when we count how many kids we've been impacted, but counting by hundreds or thousands
Hmm.
in how many kids we've impacted. Um, and then making sure that we're building something that's really stable so that it
Hmm.
doesn't all rely on me anymore.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's very important. And I think a lot of small businesses never either they don't think ahead just because they're too down in the weeds of growing the business, or maybe there's doubt that it's really going to work, or however, I mean, there's probably a million different reasons, but kudos to you for understanding that not if, but when this is successful, this is the transition plan that helps me to continue to innovate, continue to lead from the front, but also not just be buried in the day to day. So that's smart on you.
Exactly. Well, and just even knowing that we want to have multiple chapters means I need to know that things can be replicated and it's not just
Right.
going to rely on me because I can't teach in all 50 states at the same time.
Yep.
That would
Repli-
be fun, but
yeah,
I would go
right.
crazy.
Replicatable. I'm not sure that's spelled correctly, but you know what we're trying to talk about there. So very
It's
good.
okay. Yeah.
Um, I guess let's stick on that one more question here, just a little bit of a tweak on that. Who would you like to partner with? Obviously, we want parents, we want, you know, kiddos, right? But what partners would make the most sense for you to be able to accomplish this vision?
Um, Either a really big grant or
Okay.
financial backer who wants to
Right.
pay for me to create these extra chapters,
Okay. Yep.
or community centers or parks and rec departments that
Mm,
want to buy our program so that they can teach it.
okay.
Because if your rec center comes to me and they buy my 3-inch binder with my 36 lessons, then they provide the teacher and they provide the copies, and I've just provided the teaching materials. And that becomes replicatable almost instantly to anybody that wants to buy that 3-inch binder can teach it to any group of kids they have as many times as they want.
Okay.
Um, the other one would be similarly with private schools or school
Okay.
districts that want
Okay.
to partner and put it in a classroom or an after school program. Yeah. Essentially,
Yep.
if you work with children,
There you
then you
go.
would
Yeah,
be a
yeah.
good partner with me.
There you go. Working with kids.
Yeah.
I love it. Awesome. Well, Leah, I would love to give you my three key questions just because everyone has such a unique take on how they envision empowering learning. Obviously, we've talked about what that looks like to you, but I got some specific questions. But before I do that, any, I guess, parting shots or anything that you'd love for the listeners to hear about the work that you're doing, and if they want to partner with you, reach out to you. We'll put all that in the show notes and that kind of stuff, obviously. But anything that you would like to say to those that are listening that are interested in your work?
I'm going to say my most controversial sentence that I say it on every podcast I do.
Okay.
And I love it so much. Children are not the future. They are empowered and capable leaders right now. So
Ooh, okay.
we as adults all need to start asking them more questions and listening to their answers better. Uh, because there's so much power behind their imaginations and the fact that they haven't yet shed their naivete
There you
that
go.
we can learn so much from them.
Okay, I got the first part right. Children are not the future. Is it
They
just
are leaders
there go,
now.
therefore they are leaders now, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And it blows people away whenever I say children are not the future because they're like, no, of course they are. That's
Mhm.
the whole point of education. And
Right.
I'm like, yes, The point of
But
education is that children will be leaders in the
Mhm.
future,
Sure.
but they are also leaders now.
There you go. I love it. That's a very good and important differentiation between the two. So I love it.
Right.
That's a good one. Okay. All right. Our three key questions that we ask all of our podcast guests on the Empowered Learning Podcast. Number one, Leah, would love to hear from you. Who is a light? Sorry, that again. Who is a leader that you most admire and try to emulate?
This is going to sound so bad. I'm such a fangirl. But once upon a time, I worked at Profit First Professionals home base. And
Okay.
Profit First Professionals is the organization based on the book Profit First by Mike Michalowicz.
Okay. Yep. I know that one. Yep.
I have read all of Mike's books. I tell anybody who will listen about how Mike is one of the most brilliant entrepreneurial minds that has ever
hmm
existed. And so he was my boss, but
hmm
also like he's kind of a rock star, and I
That's awesome.
absolutely fangirl over him.
Tell me his last name again.
Michalowicz, Michacha Alowicz.
I ICZ. Okay. McCalloway.
ICZ,
Wow.
Michalowicz. Yep,
Okay.
it's Polish.
Mike. Here we go. I have read that
And
book. It's been a bit, but yeah, good stuff.
I have, if you're a business owner with employees, his book All In is so amazing. I read it in
Mm,
one night, and it's about how to create employees who are all in on the mission behind your business and
okay.
care as much about it as you do.
Love it. Okay.
Awesome.
Check that out. That's a freebie. Didn't even ask for that one.
Right.
Business
Yeah.
owners, check that one out.
Like I said, I'm kind of a fangirl.
Okay. No, that's there's other things that it might be embarrassing to be a fangirl. I think someone that's super successful that's making a big difference in the world, there's nothing to apologize for that. So very
I
good.
think only because he was also my boss.
I got you. No, I get it, but nothing to be ashamed of. All right, number two. What learning has most impacted you in the last year?
I went to one of the satellite locations for Global Leadership Summit. So
Okay.
I went to the streaming service in Wichita, and one of the speakers, whose name has completely escaped me, was talking about how she founded an organization that helps pull girls out of sex trafficking.
Oh,
But the
wow.
question that she asked when she stood on stage, she said, "Do you love your mission enough to rearrange your life for it?"
Ooh.
And that question, I think, his learning to see my perspective through that lens of do you love it enough to rearrange things for it? Though it wasn't like a lesson that she was up there teaching, that sentence just has really been the most impactful thing for me
Mhm.
this year.
Life for it. That is really, really good
Yeah,
because yeah, there's varying levels, right? And not that we have to judge. I mean, maybe the answer is no, and that's okay, but like let's not kid ourselves. If the answer is no, then just understand that the time frame that might be a little bit longer, or you may have to go through some different heartaches. But if and I always think of like, are you willing to, sacrifice now for the things that you want in the future? Kind of goes back to
right.
that idea of delayed gratification. It's a little bit more complex than marshmallows when you become an adult, but the same is true.
Right. Well, and just to look at that question and then say, okay, what part of my life do I love enough to rearrange things to make
Mhm.
sure that they always stay priorities?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Very good. That's great. I love that. Appreciate that. All right. Last question here. What would you do, or how would you, better to say, how would you empower learning for future generations? You obviously are already doing that, so we've kind of already touched on this a little bit, but maybe in the word empowered learning, how does that strike you, and what would you do for our current kids that are leaders right now, but are also going to be leading the world in the future? What do you think?
I think the most important part is make things more hands-on and more
Mm,
interactive.
okay.
Um, I think for kids to feel empowered in their learning, they need to feel like they have some connection to it.
Mm,
So they either need to be able to touch it, they need to be able to apply it to their own lives. So anytime we can create lessons that are interactive and
mhm.
hands-on, it empowers them to be more in control of what's happening.
Right.
I mean, why do we all like science classes the most? Because we get to do
Mhm.
experiments.
Yeah, there it is. Cool. Well, that is the perfect little bow as we go into our Christmas season. I mean, that seems like the perfect uh cherry on top of our little Sunday here. So thank you so much, Leah, for your time and for your wisdom, and kudos to you for all that you've done. I'm excited to continue, continue our conversation and hear how
Yes.
things go in years to come, because I'm sure they will just be fantastic. So we'll have to do this again in a couple years and hear all of the exciting updates.
Yes, and all the national programs that are
That's
available for people
right.
to join no matter where they are.
There we go. Speak it into existence. Love it.
That's everything I do is this is what's going to happen.
Hmm.
If I know that this is going to happen, what
Hmm.
do we need to do now to make that happen?
Correct.
And
Correct.
we do
Correct.
it.
Yep. There you
That's
go.
the book. I said the book will be in people's hands before Christmas, and I
Mhm.
literally have books delivering on Christmas Eve.
I love it. Good for
It's
you.
amazing.
Good for you. I love it. Well, Merry Christmas. Thank you again for everything that you're doing right now. And I appreciate you and look forward to talking to you again soon.
Yes, thank you for having me.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks again to Leah Ellis for sharing such an inspiring vision for the next generation of leaders. The key takeaway: when kids are trusted with responsibility and given the right environment, they rise to the challenge. If you found value in this episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a parent, educator, or leader who believes in investing in the next generation. Thanks for listening to the Empowered Learning Podcast. We'll see you next time.